So Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is bad. It's like tremendously bad, like unplayable levels of bad. Which sounds ridiculous, like how can a hit indie sensation game of the year 2014 be unplayably bad? But allow me to ask you a question. Have you played FNAF 2? Do you have friends that have played FNAF 2? Do you have acquaintances that have played FNAF 2? Because honestly, I don't think this game was meant to be played. The most enjoyment that you can possibly get is just by watching someone else play it and then laughing when they freak out at the funny jump scare pop-up and do the big scream. Like, I just don't get it. So just sit down for the next 3 to 15 minutes so that I have someone to rant to about how this game is trash.
Just hold in the mind if you wanna test me until you find the things I'll teach ya. Be sure to feature. Nevertheless, together let's compete till I'll kick, punch, jump, tap, knock. Once more now, kick, punch, jump, tap, and block.
First off, let me show you the core gameplay of FNAF 2. Yep, that's it. Flip the camera up, put points into the Scott Cawthon trademark anxiety wheel, camera down, mask up, span the light, check the vents, and repeat. Which sounds kind of complicated when I list it out really fast like that, but when you're doing the same few things over and over and over again for several hours, then it gets pretty repetitive. The gameplay is simplistic, but not like simplistic in the cool way where there's only a few options with infinite gameplay possibilities, like simplistic in the way where there's only 4 gameplay possibilities and the entire game is just about how fast you can react to those 4 gameplay possibilities, which is fine, honestly. Like, I'm not that mad about it. Gameplay can have simple repetitive mechanics and still be fun in its own way, but the real problem is that games like this are meant to be beaten quickly, and FNAF 2 can't be beaten quickly because it's stupidly fucking unnecessarily difficult to beat and also not difficult to beat in the cool way either. Feels less like a challenge that you're slowly adapting and strategizing against and more like eating chalk repeatedly and hoping it'll be slightly more edible the next time. It's just stupid and unrealistic, and I've tried it too many times and I'm not getting anywhere. See, all the problems begin with the stupid little Harlequin baby in a box. So, the puppet in isolation is completely fine. I mean, the concept, it makes sense for a horror game. The anxiety builds up because the wheel goes down, so then you have to hit the button to make the anxiety go away temporarily, but then you get worried because you're not looking in front of you. It's cool, great, haha, cool, great gaming concepts. But the problem with the puppet is the time problem that it creates. So in order to fully wind the box, it takes around 8 seconds, and the time runs out in 12. Keep those numbers in mind, they'll be important. The next important figures are the other animatronics. These ones all do the same thing, you just react to them by putting the mask down, not too difficult. These ones are in the room as soon as you put the camera down, so from the time that they're in the room to the time that they're out of the room, it's always 4.25 seconds. But then these ones go away if you have the mask down for 5 seconds, so if you just keep the mask down for an extra 0.75 seconds, then the coast is clear. However, alternatively, if none of the actual office animatronics spawn, then that means that you have to spend the time panning the camera over and hitting the button and then putting the mask down and then pulling it up. It takes like an extra second and a half or so, but it's fine, it's whatever. So far, the game seems pretty simple, right? Doesn't really seem that difficult after. So remember all of those numbers that I threw at you like 5 seconds ago? This is where they become important because this scurvy-ridden, stinky, icky, yucky piece of fuck ruins everything. So Foxy has to be dealt with the same way that I deal with women in the real world. They constantly approach me, so I flash them to make them go away. Ultimately, however, instead of just leaving me alone permanently, Foxy has to be flashed every 6 to 7 seconds whenever he's in the hallway, which on night 7 is always. The period where the other animatronics are in the room doesn't really seem to count, which is nice, I guess, but there's still a major issue with time now because in order to do all of your tasks, you can only really spin the wheel for a max of 4 seconds at a time or else you get killed by Foxy. But then, if you want to spin the wheel for that long, you have to keep the mask down for exactly 5 seconds because if you take too long, then Foxy will go. But then if you keep it down for less than 5, then this chucklefuck will come into the room and then you can't do anything and then Foxy will go. So now basically, if you put the numbers together, you can spin the wheel for 4 seconds, then you have to take a break for 5 to 6 seconds, then you repeat the same cycle over and over again. It works out just barely perfectly because 4 seconds equals 6 seconds, so it's just fine. The timings are tight and the game is difficult, but it can still feasibly be beaten in a way that's challenging yet also rewarding. So you know RNG. Pretty cool, right? Like you flip a coin and then if it's head, it's awesome, you win, and if it's tails, then you lose. Oh well, dang it. Now, let me introduce you to a different scenario, right? You flip the coin. If it lands on tails, same rules as the real world, you die. But then if it lands on heads, then in another 10 seconds, you have to flip the coin again, and then repeat that for 7 minutes. That RNG hell is basically what this banjo-wielding, cousin-fucking, blue-ball, blumpkin piece of shit represents. So basically, Bonnie shows up randomly, can show up alongside other animatronics, doesn't always go away after having the mask up for 5 seconds, and takes way longer to play his animation when he finally decides to take his disgusting, ugly, fucking kissable face out of the vent. Anytime that he shows up, you automatically lose half your clock. You can make that up little by little by taking a few risks, but if those risks go bad, then Foxy shows up. And if you don't take those risks, then one more Bonnie situation and Puppet go pop weasel, everyone Markiplier, funny scream, ha! And all of that is assuming that these are the main animatronics showing up instead of these ones, which leaves you an extra second, and that also you're not messing up at any any executions, because if you mess up any executions, you lose even more time, which also causes the puppet to show up. Are you starting to see the problem here? This mode does not feel like it was meant to be beaten. And listen to me very, very carefully. I am not just saying that because I can't beat it. In order to actually win, you have to get lucky on top of having near perfect timings and reactions on just about everything. The entire experience just feels like constantly walking on eggshells while also dodging eggs, and also there's a giant blue rabbit and he's an asshole, and if he shows up twice then you die. Like, Scott, my friend, my brother, did you really think it was okay to just make this flea-ridden trash heap and then throw it upon my feet like slap slap, work done, and then run off to the world to what? Take care of your wife? And your kids? And what, you're just gonna leave me here to make attempts, throwing myself repeatedly at this wall of RNG that you've laid in front of me until things work out? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, Scott, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think it's worth my time. I don't think that sitting here and waiting for RNG to fall on my lap. Oh, I beat it. You know, honestly, people exaggerate a lot. This game isn't really that bad.